We now know the opponents of the Canadian clubs in the 2026 Concacaf Champions Cup. Wheeler, Platt, Wilson with you. So let's get into it. Vancouver Whitecaps on the balance on the back of an outstanding campaign. They play Cartagena from Costa Rica. We have Vancouver FC who are joining the fold. You like that? That's a shout out to my buddy Adam Jenkins right there, by the way.
You did well,
they
man.
take on the Blue Machine in Cruz Azul, a big test for the Eagles. Forge FC will play Tigres, and Atletico Ottawa, all kinds of intrigue. They play Jacob Schaffelberg's Nashville SC side. The winner of that could move on to play Lionel Messi in the MLS Cup champion Inter Miami. Get in. Oliver, good draw, bad draw, or are you indifferent to the draw for the four Canadian clubs?
I think good draw for Atletico Ottawa. I think they'll like that matchup against Nashville and the opportunity to play an MLS team. Vancouver, it's their first experience. Obviously, they were going to be gigantic underdogs, whatever happens. So to get the number one ranked team in CONCACAF right now feels like great. Let's give it a go and see what comes out of that one. The Whitecaps, I think, will be pretty pleased with theirs in terms of their possibility, obviously, of just getting through that first round pretty smoothly. It's going to be difficult from there, but it always is in this competition. There's a lot of good teams. And then Forge, have just had an incredible run of Mexican giants, Cruz Azul, Chivas, Monterrey, and now Tigres. So another great experience for them going down to...
It's the whole menu.
the whole menu.
No, that's it.
They get to go down to Monterrey again and play a giant team in a fantastic stadium with some great players. Let's hope that maybe there's a few lessons they can learn from previous years and put in a more competitive fight. I don't think they've necessarily played badly at times, but obviously 5-0 in aggregate last year wasn't particularly close. So you just want to see some progress from that.
Yeah, obviously Atletico Ottawa. They get the best. They get the best of the bunch, right? The one that you're like, okay, decent, right? A nice little barometer. Okay, obviously Nashville are huge favorites with the salary and the budget that they have. But again, I think just a comparative to compare yourself from the Canadian League to the American League and the MLS and see what it is and try to give it a run. What do we hope about? When you think about Forge, though, you just hope for better conditions. Like, if it could be a day that is a little bit cold, but you could at least stick your feet. Like, I can't help but think about that match as well. We have players sliding or gingerly running and on the tip of their toes. But yeah, I think, too, the biggest thing that stuck out to me about the draw was how it felt like last year as well. Wheels feels like a lifetime ago, though, watching that first match in Costa Rica with Vancouver Whitecaps and seeing the rise and how far they went in this tournament, but also just in the season. Similar opponent, right, with a Costa Rican club, and then going to go and play them. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, early football, we don't really get that much of a break. We're back at it really soon. But again, this is a tournament that is it's just nice. It's nice to compare. It's nice to see what these Canadian teams can do. So yeah, all around, I think it was a decent draw.
Just remember, Cavalry did defeat Pumas last season. So This can happen, which is going to be incumbent on properly preparing. Now these Canadian Premier League clubs, at least Forge and the others, should know through association how early you need to prepare in order to go into these matches with the best chances possible. The CPL clubs over the last week have rolled out the returning squads, the returning rosters in North American terms, I guess. And especially for Vancouver FC with a lot of players on loan, there's plenty of work to do. And for Forge, every year going to this tournament, you feel like they have a decent team going into the Concacaf Champions Cup, but it's not their complete group that they'll be heading into the CPL regular season with. So what lessons are learned, and basically looking at the squads and who is returning or who's at least been announced at this point, does it change the way that you look at any of these ties, or is there significant work to be done, Ollie?
I think it always favors continuity. Like that for me is a big part of what Cavalry did last season, was that they had a lot of returning players coming back, a lot of consistency in the group. They got some cold weather in the first leg on Vancouver Islands that they were able to take advantage of. And they had a player in great form, obviously, off the back of last season in Tobias Wojciechowski, who scored a brilliant winning goal. So that to me kind of feels like the recipe for these teams. You have to make the most of the home leg. I know what you mean about building the squad early and getting your new players in, but to be honest, they're still going to be playing their first game for the club, right? After only a few weeks, probably of preseason. So I think you really have to lean on the guys you've got coming back, which you would think probably of that list of teams, or certainly it would favor the Vancouver Whitecaps, but of the CPL teams, probably Forge will have most of that, I think, from the previous year. So maybe a little bit of an advantage to them in that sense. But that to me, like as much as you can do your business early, it's still always going to be tough for these CPL teams playing their first game of the year in February with not a lot of lead up time.
It's very unusual, right? Like we can't help but stress. We talk about it every year because it's that significant. In what world or in what part of the world do you play an important game the way that you do and then almost have essentially like a month and a half break? Right, like I'm. Don't quote me on this, but I'm sure Forge or Calvary as well, after the loss last season, probably have a week or two to kind of lick their wounds and then ramp up again before the season. So they're significant underdogs, but Ollie's right. It's like the continuity between a squad is huge, having a clear focus of how you want to handle these matches. But you're playing big dogs, I think, as well. When you look at your career and everyone has to retire at some day, it's these matches where you think, oh, this is a day I like showed up, or, oh, this is like, there's levels to this. This is how great a team could be, a Liga MX side. So yeah, you got to do your best early on, but it's difficult for these Canadian teams to really get things going when your season, specifically for the Canadian Premier League, doesn't really kick into gear until March.
I wonder as well if, just quickly, Wills, if they might look at changing the format again because of MLS's calendar switch in the next couple of years. And that may actually help the CPL teams if you're playing an initial phase in August, September, as opposed to the new year.
Other than potential stadium availability, and we'll get onto that another day. So perhaps, the Canadian clubs, like Atletico Ottawa is really intriguing because they are bringing back a lot of important players. Right off the bat, Koke is being announced. His extra years being picked up, and Noah Batney alongside players like Cloutier and Blue Tabla. Like it's going to be an interesting tie against Nashville because they're going through some changes of their own. Walker Zimmerman has been there for what seems to be forever. He's now moving on from Nashville. So we'll see what that tie brings to the table. And if OneSoccer wants to send me to the Music City, my hand is way up.
You're up for it.
In the air.
Kind of feel like you're going to Nashville. I think you're going there, Rose. I think it's happening.
Bro, I got my big buckle and I'm ready to go. I am good to go. The Whitecaps is interesting because, Jordan, you pointed it out. They started their run through the Concacaf Champions Cup in Costa Rica last February to lead them all the way to the final. This time around, there's one roadblock. Like, look, whoever they play against, this Whitecaps team can beat. We saw it in the tournament last year. We saw it in MLS. But the winner of their tie against Cartagena plays Seattle Sounders. It's local. It's like a Cascadia derby. That's the one, Jordan. I'm like, they probably would have been okay playing just about anyone else. The Sounders makes it tricky based upon proximity and history and all of those intangibles.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be a great game, though. I'm already putting the Whitecaps into that second round against the Sounders. But again, you can knock off a big team early. The confidence that leads to going into the rest of the tournament. But, I mean, they made the finals this past year. You can't think – I can't picture a world where Whitecaps are bowing out early. They got to at least go the distance.
One big plus, I think, of playing the Sounders is less travel. Like that start of the season is always so challenging when you're playing through CONCACAF. So to only have to go to Seattle for an away game, I think, is maybe helpful. Maybe more in terms of their MLS schedule because it's obviously a really difficult Champions Cup tie. But I don't think they'll mind that too much. I think they're in a strong position. Like Axel Schuster spoke yesterday, I believe it was, and like he said, they can keep this team together. There's no salary cap problems. They've managed that. In a way where they can keep the core together. You wonder if obviously players like Berhalter, Ahmed could attract attention at some point, whether it's now or after the World Cup. There's been some talk about Andres Cubas as well. So I'm not saying that necessarily everyone will be back. Taco Oka's out of contract too. But I think they're going to have the ability to keep almost all of the players that they'd like to keep. And then hopefully, sprinkle a bit more on top as well to give the team a few different dynamics going into next season.
Yeah,
so I'd be excited
unless certain players do get sold or do move on. That's obviously the reality of playing in MLS at that time as well. And just hopefully BC Place isn't booked up. it's 2 cents. It shouldn't. Home and
Garden
show. Too soon. Really quick. I mean, Vancouver FC. It's a shock that the Eagles are even playing in this tournament, but deservedly so in the run to the Can Champ final, where they punched well. I thought they did well against Vancouver Whitecaps, like a regional juggernaut in that game. Against Cruz Azul for a bunch of young players and a team in transition, like, what do you make of it? Is it just about the experience for young players like Tierno Oba to get on the field and play like a legendary Mexican club like that? Like, what's in it for you in this one, Ollie?
I think you just want to see them set the right tone to start the year. Like, I think everyone will be hoping this is a much more competitive year for Vancouver FC, that they can build on what they did in the Canadian Championship and under Martin Nash in general in the second half of last season. There's some talent on that roster. You'd like to obviously see them add to it over the course of this offseason. They're not probably going to have a hugely settled group, so it will be even more challenging going into those first couple of games. But no one expects you to win. Just look competitive. Look like you're there to take it seriously and not just there for, to go sightseeing or whatever and to make up the numbers. And then hopefully you kind of go into the new CPL season on the right kind of note. And that's what this team ultimately, I think, needs, is a competitive league season more than anything.
Yeah,
is it going to be Martin Nash? Going to be Martin Nash going down to Mexico?
It should. I think it should. Because for me, since Vancouver FC existed, they haven't had a squad that was as competitive or on the same page as the one that ended the 2025 season. Now, of course, there will always be like the butt of a joke in terms of you finish last, but you still end up in the Concacaf Champions Cup. Like, it's on two total ends of the spectrum. However, you see that core of the 14-15 that Martin Nash used. You could see certain players, Mbong coming to life, Tierno Oba, he was electric throughout the season, but he seemed more concentrated. He seemed more calm under Martin Nash. So those type of players, Campania as well, took a step in the right direction. Again, it's hard to praise a team that finished last, but again, the continuity within that squad, that's what you got to take into that type of match, because a good performance, even though you lose, and even though you might lose handily, it could be a 3-0, but if you play a certain brand of football, it's very easy to take that and those lessons and bring it into a season under that manager who kind of knows his football and knows how he wants to play. So we hope that for Vancouver FC, even though this is a David and Goliath type of situation.
I'm really excited for all of this. Atletico Ottawa, Schaffelberg potentially coming home. Yes, bring it on. And my expectation is Forge go out and win a game here. Like, it's their turn to do it in the Concacaf Champions Cup. And wouldn't it be fitting that they go on and beat a team named Tigres playing in the home of the Tiger Cats?
Well done.
There you go. OneSoccer is your home for the Concacaf Champions Cup.